Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni miliwanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts, right alongside Foul Meadow. It's such a beautiful place. We are delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is the very, very cool Arlene Freeman. She is here to celebrate her debut children's book. It's called Cool Kids. Before we invite Angela into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Bella Santini in the Troll War. It's book number 2 in Angela Lee's Bella Santini Chronicles. Bella Santini, marked as the chosen one in ancient prophecy, must defeat the troll army to save the Fey Kingdom from her evil aunt. Kidnapped from Yellow Moon School, Bella begins a quest to warn the Fae of the danger. A hidden secret threatens to upset Bella's emotional balance. Will Bella step into her true role? Magic, dragons, and trolls. Oh my! What if teaching your kids emotional intelligence was as easy as reading them a bedtime story? And guess what? You can learn too. Well, it's true. The Bella Santini Chronicles, a great way to share some great emotional intelligence lessons with your kids. Get your copy today, The Bella Santini Chronicles by Angela Lee. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Vroom, Barry, Carrie, and the Power Boost by William Wilberforce III. If you missed our last episode, you have to check it out. Our guest was William Wilberforce III. You are going to hear William tell his amazing personal story of persistence and resilience. And he shares those lessons of persistence and resilience and hope and finding your inner superpower boost in Vroom, Barry, Carrie, and the Power Boost. It is a great way to inspire your kids to be the most that they can be and to believe in themselves and be resilient. Check it out today. Get your copy, Vroom, Barry, Carrie, and the Power Boost by William Wilberforce III. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Holly Kinley, author, therapist, workshop presenter. She is the author of Pilates for Parenting. Stretch yourself and strengthen your family. You might be asking yourself, what the heck is Pilates for Parenting? Well, in case you haven't heard of Pilates, they are low-impact, gentle exercises carefully crafted to bring relief to specific areas while strengthening the entire body. And that's what Pilates for Parenting is all about. Just like the physical Pilates exercises, the workouts in Pilates for Parenting are designed to target core parenting issues that will benefit the entire family. It really is a wonderful and unique way to help your family grow closer together. Check it out today. Pilates for Parenting by Holly Kinley. Join us right now from North Jersey, one of my favorite places in the world. I have so many favorite places in the world, but North Jersey have so many great memories, met so many great people there, and I'm really excited because I'm going to meet another great person. Our guest is here today to celebrate her brand new book. It's called Cool Kids. Please welcome to the show, Arlene Freeman. Hey, Arlene, how are you?
Just Jim Dandy, just fine today.
I'm so excited to have you here. It turns out that I've spent lots of time in Arlene's neighborhood. It's such a neat part of the world. Jersey just gets this bad rap, and it is not deserved. It's a really wonderful state. The people are really cool, and more people should just appreciate what a great state it is.
Some people think that Jersey is a place to pass through to get to something else.
Yeah, they do. And of course, Jersey is, on the turnpike. Lots of folks are using it running up and down the East Coast. And, the joke is when you talk to somebody in Jersey, it's, so what exit do you live at? But no, there's a lot of excitement that's happening there in North Jersey. You're a suburb of New York City. South Jersey is a suburb of Philadelphia. You have so much access, no matter where you are in the state. You have access to some really exciting things that are going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just have to let everybody know about it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. So, Cool Kids is another really fun, cool thing that's coming out of Jersey. Tell us all about this new book, please.
Well, this was on my bucket list. I decided to write this book because of my father. Many, many years ago, there was no television. And what happened was my father used to tell stories to the kids on the block. And they used to come over, and my father used to tell these wonderful little stories. And he created this character called Ruffy Butch Bang. And Ruffy Butch Bang was the bully on the block. And he used to get into all kinds of mischief. And at the end, he sort of knew the better ways of how to behave. And he used to tell these stories with sound effects, and the kids used to come and listen. So I decided to take that real catchy name, Ruffy Butch Bang, and do something about it. And that's how it started.
What a cool inspiration for a story. It's so wonderful. And as you're talking, there was a Ruffy that grew up in my neighborhood of Boston. And I think that there's probably a Ruffy in everybody's past.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things I did was I did a little bit of homework to see exactly how you should handle this if it should come your way, or why people become bullies. And it was very, very interesting. I contacted the schools, and I'll probably doing a visit to the school. I was a third grade school teacher. I taught in the Passaic school system, which is right next to Clifton. I was there for a few years, and then I had my children, and in those days they didn't have daycare. So I stayed home. And then when they went to school, I went back to substituting. And so I was always involved with children in some manner. But during some years, I was a volunteer at the hospital and created a program for children about alleviating their fears from visiting a hospital. And we visited hospitals, and we went to different schools and presented these programs. And I don't know, it was just a wonderful experience for me. We did something for older children when we did careers in caring, where we let the high school students know that the hospital environment is a city with many different careers, and there are many opportunities for them. So that's what I started with.
Talk about a dynamic life. That's really, really cool. Getting back to your book, I really love the fact that before you started writing this book, you did some research, and you looked and you saw what was the most current way of talking to kids about the issue of bullying.
Well, bullying is a big problem. It's so big that they started programs within the school districts and having classes and lectures and teaching the teachers about bullying. And lots of times kids are bullying, and it makes them feel very, very sad. And they bother everyone, not just kids who are getting picked on. Bullying can make school a place of fear and stress. And children should really talk to their parents about it, or to their school nurse, or to the school principal. But and sometimes bullies love to see the reaction that they have on the people that they're bullying. And sometimes it's better just to ignore them, not to react. If you feel you're in physical danger, just leave the premises, or depending on the situation, make a joke out of it. It's depending on the personality of the child and the bully as to how you want to handle this. but you should always speak to an adult, and they can help, and you'll feel a lot more comfortable.
I think that's so very, very important. And so much of what you just shared is true. Bullying not only affects the kids that are being targeted, it affects everybody at a school. I remember this well, it was at a school in New Jersey. For many decades, I presented an anti-bullying magic show in schools, and I did a lot of work in Jersey when those laws were first passed mandating that schools address the issue. And now I believe in New Jersey, every school district has an administrator that is focused on those issues. And I remember a bit of just kind of improvisation. And I was at a school in South Jersey, and I started my show, and I came out and did a little magic trick to get the kids' attention, and I started to tell them why I was there. And then from out of nowhere, I had this improv this line and said to the kids, you have the right to go to a school where you feel safe. And the eyes of all of those kids just lit up. It was as if I was delivering them news that they had never heard before. The idea that they had the right to be safe in school seemed like a totally foreign and also wonderful concept to them. And so I think that that's really important to let kids know that they have the right to feel safe in school. And if they're not feeling safe in school, that they should be talking to an adult about it.
Oh, sure. It's a topic of conversation that parents can have with their children. It is a way to bond with your parents or your friends. But bullies, they have a problem. They need to feel important. And by bullying, they think that it makes them feel important. If they bully someone and you react to it, they're going to bully more. So there are certain tools that you can use that you're taught as to how to protect yourself from the bullies. Again, either to walk away or, if somebody calls you four eyes because you have glasses, you can turn around and laugh and say to them, better to see you. It just depends on the circumstances and how you are and where you are at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, that whole message to our kids about talking to an adult you trust about anything that's making you feel uncomfortable is so, so very important. I'm imagining, Arlene, that sitting down and reading a book like Cool Kids with your kids is a really comfortable way to bring up the subject, as opposed to sitting down and say, okay, now, child, I want to talk to you. If anybody hurts you, you should come and talk to me. It's a much more natural conversation and a safe conversation when you're reading a book and you're reading about these characters and you can sit and have some conversations about what's going on in the book.
Well, believe it or not, I was reading some of the reviews that people had on the book, mm-hmm. and they felt that it was a great read for listeners to learn how to be confronted with the idea of wanting to be a follower and becoming a bully, and then realizing that kindness and talking to people and discussing things and really consideration and kindness are the best ways to be. It is a transition from Michael, who is the lead character in the book, who wanted to be a football player and join the group, ended up leaving his friends and trying to become a bully so he can be part of the so-called football group. And in doing so, he lost his friendship with his good buddies and realized that it made him very sad. He didn't recognize himself anymore. His dog Cooper didn't recognize him. His whole persona changed, and that did not make him feel like a good person. And he realized that becoming the kind person was being the better cool kid, that being really kind and nice is the coolest.
Yeah.
And that's how he wanted to be. And as it turns out, Ruffy Butchbang saw that Michael was getting his own group of friends back together again and realized that he wanted to be part of Michael's group, and he had to become kinder and nicer. And it made him, to be mean, you have to think about it. But to be kind and nice, it comes naturally from within you. And it's such a better feeling that you have about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. That feeling of knowing that you can change a person's life through kindness and friendship is such a wonderful feeling to discover as a kid.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good.
Yeah. Hey, Arlene, I wanted to talk a little bit about, you mentioned that the inspiration for this book was your dad and the stories that your dad told to you and to the kids in the neighborhood. Can you tell us a little bit more about your dad? He seems like a really special guy.
Well, he really was a special dad. The funny part about it, what made him very, very interesting with people, is he made his own sound effects. Mm-hmm. And with these sound effects, you heard horses, you heard, when I used to listen to the radio, of course you had the sound effects from the radio, but he used to make his own. And, you knew when the horses were coming in, and you knew when screeches were, and, and sounds and awe and gruffs. And he told, for several years. And, he was a great storyteller. He had a great imagination. And this character, Ruffy Butchbang, well, he's got a lot more to say in maybe future books as to how to be kind and nice and how much better it is. The book itself inspired me because I used the people in the book from my family. Michael is my older grandson, and he is the person that was the one that changed from being a kind, good kid into a bully and back to a nice, kind, good kid again. And then there's Ted and Eric and Todd, which are Ted and Eric are my sons, and Todd is my stepson. And then there's Axie and Nicole, which are my daughter-in-laws, and Quinn and Max, who played football with them. And then there's the bully, who's my significant other, and the name fits.
I was going to ask how your kids felt about being included in your book, but I got to ask how your significant other feels being cast as the bully.
Well, he kind of fits. If the name fits.
Who am I to argue with that? The other thing that you mentioned is that you had this really really unique career of being a teacher and then being a stay-at-home mom, which I think is every bit as valuable a career as any other. And then you were a substitute teacher. That's one of those kind of jobs and careers that I think everybody is terrified of, because we remember how we treated the substitute teachers. How did that experience work for you? Was it a positive experience for you?
Well, I will tell you, I substituted in every single grade except for the high school. Mm-hmm. And I decided the one grade I was never going to substitute for again was second grade. Because in second grade, it was extremely difficult. They weren't shy. The children were not shy any longer. They had the feel of the school and the environment, but their attention span was still very, very little. Mm-hmm. And they were difficult at certain third. I taught third grade. Mm-hmm. And then after my teaching, substituting wasn't rewarding enough. So I got my real estate license and I opened up my own real estate company for 35 years and
Wow.
became a real estate broker and a real estate appraiser and ended up selling to Caldwell Banker. They wanted my firm and that's what I do today. I write children's books and I sell real estate.
Ah. You know, a lot of people out there, I'm sure, they have this dream of becoming an author of some sort. You had this dream of being a children's author. You said it was on your bucket list. But a lot of people don't get to check off those bucket list items. And being a children's author, it's much more complicated than going to Machu Picchu or going to see the pyramids. This is something that's months or years long, and it takes concentration and writing. What was it that gave you the stick-to-itiveness to actually check this item off your bucket list?
Well, during COVID, we kind of were sequestered in our own little house, and I decided to do this, and not knowing whether it had any merit whatsoever. As it turns out, I went to visit when I could one of the people in my community who her daughter wrote children's books, and I asked her who published them. And she gave me the name of the publisher, and I said, I'm going to try this. But every children's book usually has to send a message to be of value. And I felt that my book served a message, but I wasn't sure how good it was. So I sent it to Mascot Publishing, and there it was. And they said they would absolutely do it. And that started me on the process of learning how to write a book with an editor who changed things and picking an illustrator. And that was also very interesting because this book is about football. And after I learned how to match the pictures up with the script, right before it was going into print, I stopped short because the illustrator was from the UK. And her football was not mine. And she had a soccer ball. And I had to go back and tell her to the drawing board, we're American, and we use the pigskin American football. And she had to change all those pictures. But the entire process was very, very interesting. And I said when I went to the school systems, I said, maybe I should speak to a creative writing class and show them exactly the process that I went through. That in itself was a tremendous learning experience for me, and I enjoyed it. But now I know how you should do this, and I would never discourage anybody from giving it a try.
Yeah.
Because all they can say is no.
And every attempt you don't take fails. Just if you have a dream, go out there and go for it. And I'm so happy that you went for it, because not only did you get to check that off your bucket list, but you also created a book that I think is going to make a difference in a lot of kids' lives.
I learned a phrase that I've used many, many times. And the phrase is, what do you have now? Nothing. What may you have later? Nothing. So you have nothing to lose to try. And that I have in my real estate career, it has pushed me forward to try to do things that I ordinarily would not try. But if I have nothing now and I may have nothing later, I have nothing to lose.
There you go. Arlene, is there a place where people can go to find out more about Cool Kids and also find out more about you?
Well, first of all, you can get the book if you go on mascotbooks.com or Amazon, or Barnes & Noble has the book. It is distributed by Ingram. They have the books, but you can get it online, as I said. And I hope to be doing the Passaic County Book Fair in June. where I will be, and they can meet me there. Hopefully that it doesn't rain that day. And I'm going to be branching out. I did a book signing in Barnes & Noble. I'll probably do some more. I've applied to the Miami Book Fair. We'll see how that goes. But I will go to various libraries and read in some bookstores. And that's my future projects.
That's wonderful. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Cool Kids, brand new book from our guest, Arlene Freeman. Hey, Arlene, thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. A very enjoyable pleasure.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Two great guests, author and illustrators, Dev Petty and Mike Bolt. They're here to celebrate their beautiful picture book. It's called Don't Eat Bees. Great advice for dogs and kids and grown-ups too. That's the next episode of the podcast. Hey, please be sure to connect with us on social media. We love connecting with our fans on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. At Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. At Reading With Your Kids on TikTok. Although, to be honest, we don't have much going on in TikTok yet. We're going to get there. You also can follow us on Twitter at Jedley Magic. And please do visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Sign up for our free newsletter. And also be sure to use that contact button at the top of the page. Please tell us what you love about the show. And if you think that what you love about the show is worthy of a 5-star review, then please, by all means, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find the Reading With Your Kids podcast. Also, you can let us know what we could be doing better. We really would love to hear that. And most of all, we would love it if you could tell us who you would like to hear in a future episode of the Reading With Your Kids podcast. You can do it. It's really simple. readingwithyourkids.com. Click on that contact button at the top of the page. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Arlene Freeman. Be sure to check out Cool Kids from our really cool author. Also want to thank our sponsors, the Bella Santini Chronicles by Angela Lee, Pilates for Parenting by Holly Kinley, and of course, Vroom, Barry Carey, and the Power Boost by William Wilberforce III. Also want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Ashley Contreras, Nicole Belcastro. I love my beautiful wife, and I want to thank her for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I love all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.